All right, everybody, welcome back. Nimiger here, and today I wanted to make a video of a kind that I normally wouldn't make, um, pulling back the curtain a little bit from behind the scenes. I don't really plan or didn't plan to initially make any kind of news videos or updates on what's happening in Raid, other than maybe like opinions on should you summon for certain champions, um, because A, I don't have like the content creator access, and a lot of the people are given access before the announcement even goes live to the public. And if you see, their videos actually go live at the same time the announcement does. So I can't really ever compete with that. So I don't really plan to kind of be the guy who's on the breaking news. However, I did see something that was a little bit interesting that I want to show for the new fusion that was announced today. And if you're seeing this video on what I hope to upload, which is Saturday, Saturday morning, so one day after the fusion was announced, that'll be pretty interesting because if you've seen, I only upload a video every other day. But this would be a magical next day upload to the one I uploaded yesterday. If this is live on Saturday, if it's Sunday, it means I got lazy, didn't feel like making a thumbnail. Anyway, getting into the video. I want to talk about the fusion real quick, a personal ad that's going to be like 30 seconds. My clan's recruiting. I've got 2 open slots, so you can pause the video, read this if you're interested, shoot me a DM, and that's going to be the end of the ad. But looking at the new fusion, the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I saw this post from Ash's community tab on the Raid YouTube, or whatever you call it, like the community tab of his YouTube channel, and it said, "Are you going for..." Oh, I got writing on, apparently. Pretend that doesn't exist. It says, "You planning to go for the Masahiro, the Bell Monk Fragment Summon? Be sure to check out the video where they break it down, blah, blah, blah." This number was a little shocking to me when I initially read the champion, and I'm gonna read over the champion and kind of give a few thoughts. Is talking with my clan and just kind of looking at what I was thinking myself. I haven't watched any other people's videos on this champion, but to me, this seemed like a very solid champion who solves a lot of issues and could have some hidden uses in PvP. And more than half of the community showing no for this. And I know that Ash isn't necessarily like the end game focus, does every fusion. He's got a very broad audience, but I was still kind of shocked that 60% almost of this audience was saying, no, I'm not going to go for this, when I think this champion could actually be quite good. So I just wanted to make the video going over the kit and explaining why I think you should go for him. And that'll be looking at the fusion right here. The first thing I want to cover is, without looking at anything else, we see that this guy is a Shadowkin, and we see that he's got a revive all dead allies. That is already, like, with no other text on the champion, I would debate going for this. If you look at the Shadowkin in-game, and you're looking at who can revive people, you go down the list, none of the mythicals, none of the first row, and if some of them can revive, I apologize, but I don't think there are any. If you go down this list, none of them in the second row. Go down the third, none of them in the third row, and not Shredder. I'm going to try to confirm that by going into the filter and looking at the revive for Shadowkin. So if I go to Shadowkin, and I go to other effects, positive for revive, nobody matches from my normal champions. If I go into the Master and Reserve, you've got Gamaran, who I don't think actually has a revive. He's got a block revive. Let's see if he can actually revive. I don't even think... Revives one random ally each time an enemy is killed. So, conditional revive that isn't a skill and has a kind of like a passive cooldown. I don't count that. You've got Kinagashi, the Epic, who... if you've struggled through Hard Faction Wars or seen my video on the Hard Faction Wars, you'll see that I use this champion, but he sucks, even though you have to use him because he's a reviver. Revives an ally with 50% HP and turn meter. It gets the job done. The rest of his kit's not amazing. He's useful just because he has the revive, and you can use him. And then they had the recent fusion, which was Yukamasa, who has this ability here where it's attacks all enemies, ignores block damage, revives one ally 50% HP and turn meter if the skill did not kill an enemy, revives all allies if the skill kills at least one enemy. So again, kind of crazy conditional. This guy's not really used outside of like some cheese one-shot champions that I've seen. I haven't seen him at all in endgame, live arena, PvP, even Shadowkin Siege. I haven't seen him. So I wouldn't really call him a useful Shadowkin reviver. So already, the fusion itself, if you look at his skills, I might just do the fusion based on that. But we'll look at the rest of the skills and go through it. I'll try to zoom in here. So the A1 attacks all enemies, places a decreased crit rate for 1 turn. Not an amazing ability, however, if you can get the decreased crit rate on some certain bosses or PvE waves who have, I think, like a 15%-ish crit chance, that's just kind of flat, you can take away any RNG from that fight if you land those consistently. But attacks all enemies is pretty good again for the A1. If you're running them in faction wars for any of the conditions, this means you can put them in a stun set, a provoke set, a daze set, I think it's called, for the sleep. AoE A1 is actually really useful for those stats. You don't need this champion to be dealing damage for him to be useful just on that alone. If you look at the A2, Redemptive Fervor, he's going to attack one enemy. Before attacking, 75% chance of transferring all debuffs from all allies to the target. To me, that's kind of crazy. I don't know if this exists, but it's like a cleanse that is a transfer, and I don't know 100% if this happens where if you don't land the transfer, I don't know if it still removes all the debuffs from the allies. I'm not 100% sure on how that works. I would imagine it does work maybe, but even if it doesn't work like that, and if you don't have enough accuracy and it doesn't transfer, it's still going to be good most of the time. If you build this guy with really high resist, or you have him in like a Mercurial set where he's not going to be getting debuffs, or a Stone Skin, that means you can have him go first, even if your allies are stunned or debuffed in any way. He can go, cleanse all of that, and then you can just go. That seems kind of insane for PvP, or even just in PvE waves. And that's before attacking. He's also going to heal all allies by 25% of his max HP, and he is a HP-based champion, so that's going to be an okay heal. And a 25% strengthen on all allies, so he's going to cleanse them, potentially debuff the enemy, heal, and place a damage reduction in the strengthen, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Seems pretty good so far. The A3, the Humble Savior, looks like it's a 4-turn cooldown. He's going to attack all enemies. Before attacking, he's going to revive all dead allies, 50% HP and 50% turn meter. And you can use the skill even if there are no dead allies. So some champions that have a revive with other effects where they can't use the revive skill if nobody's dead, that makes it really annoying. Because sometimes you still want the buffs, or you want the effect to happen, or you want this attack to happen. So you being able to use it is pretty good. The only instance where I would say it's not really good is if you're doing like a speed farm of like a dungeon, and you have this guy set up in the AI preset, is you can't like select it to only happen if an ally is dead. So similar to like the Mighty Uko, he's got that increased speed and block damage on his A3, where even if nobody's dead, he'll use it, and then the next turn somebody dies and it's on cooldown. So it's kind of awkward in that sense where you can use it if nobody's dead, but I don't think you're ever going to get into that situation with this guy. So being it conditional where you can use it even if nobody's dead is good. He's a Shadowkin Reviver. This is an attack. And then, get this, 75% chance of placing a stun and a block buffs. So stun for 1 turn, block buffs for 2 turns. And a 75% chance of a decreased speed and block buffs if it's a boss. So they've been doing a little bit recently this thing where if you can't do the stun against bosses because they're all immune to CC, a lot of champions have skills which are pretty cool but really bad against bosses because of that. So they've been putting this condition where it does something to the boss and something else to normal champion-based enemies. I think that's awesome, really cool. This is a amazing skill. Just reading it to me, this is you revive everybody if they're dead. If the enemy can be stunned, they're gonna all be stunned. You get your revive. You're gonna place a block buffs on them. So if the enemy has Mercurial, At the start of their turn, they're not getting that because block buffs blocks it. You're going to have them stunned, so even though you're revived with only 50% turn meter, if the entire enemy team is stunned, they're going to not take their turn. Your team's going to get to go off of this revive, and it can be used against bosses. To me, this seems really good. I don't know if he's going to be like a PvP amazing champion, but to me, this kit reads like, hey, there are some niche uses for this, and I'm definitely going to be trying him out in Shadowkin Siege, because they're lacking kind of like a amazing like control like fourth unit. I've been running a Yumeko with Chronophage, but the issue for that is if the enemy team runs a Yumeko, it just gets kind of weird. And then you run like Leos, Harimas, maybe some speed champions, but like there is no reviver to be able to kind of take control of a fight or do something interesting like that on offense specifically. So I think I would be using this guy quite a bit. And we haven't even got to his passive yet. So just on these first 3 skills, I'm definitely going for this fusion. And then you got the passive, For My Sins. All allies receive 1% less damage, up to 15%. For each turn taken by enemies and allies while they remain alive. Each champion's damage reduction resets when they die and between rounds. If there are multiple champions, this does not activate. Allies revived by this champion, and this is where his kit gets even crazier. So 60% of the community saying they're not going for this guy, to me, is insane. Allies revived by this champion are immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, fear, true fear, petrification, that's any CC, until the start of their turn. You know what this means? If you place the revive with the A3 and the enemy has a Fabian, and he goes and he's going to try to petrify with the A2 off the revive and true fear your team, it's not going to work. That's a very good counter that I haven't seen really mentioned, and I guess I haven't looked at other videos, but that's a crazy use case when Fabian is in almost every single battle, that he just counters that passive of Fabian attacking on the revive. This resets when the revived ally takes a turn, is killed or between rounds, and then it doesn't proc on multiple champions. I think this is very good. I see a lot of uses where this can be good. So I'm definitely going for this guy. I'm going to try him out. You know what? If he ends up being a kind of a bum, guess what? You still get the hard Faction Wars Reviver, who can do the A1 with the sets, because he's AoE, and he's got a very interesting PvP uses, in my opinion. You can also use him in the Force siege battles. He's got the Force ally speed in all battles, so that's very interesting because you can run him with like Harima and some other champions that are Force in the Shadowkin, and you can also run him in a Force siege condition set, and that'll increase all their speed by 25%, which is the same as the mythical all battle speed aura. So that's about as high as you can possibly get in an all battle speed aura. So if you're missing like a Lazarius providing that, or an Arbaeus, you can get that for Force champions, but with Masahiro. So I think this champion's actually very good. I would think if you have the resources, you should go for him. I think if you're struggling with the resources, I think you should go for him. The only place I wouldn't go for him is maybe if you're like super early game and you literally can't, or you're kind of mid game and you literally can't. But to me, Kit's very interesting. I think he's definitely worth the pull. I don't know why a large percent of the community seems to not be saying that on Ash's video, and like I said, I haven't watched any of the creator videos, so they could be positively reviewing this champion. But to me, this guy is pretty insane on reading. Obviously, when it comes out in kit with numbers and what he does and the base stats, that's all going to change some things. But you could run this guy in like 9-piece Mercurial. He seems like he could be a pretty good support. The only thing that you might be missing is like on the A3, you want to remove the buffs. So if the enemy team has like a block debuffs, this becomes a little bit worse. But I still think he's very good. I still think you should pull for him. I'm definitely going for him. And that's kind of my opinion on this champion. So if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe. If you have any opinions on this champion, if you're going for him, or if you think I'm totally wrong and you think he's going to be bad, feel free to leave that in the comments. Tell me why. I'd like to discuss and see what people think about Fusion. So let me know, and thank you for watching until the end of the video. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.